Hello everyone, welcome to Master 101. I'm here once again to give you a great video. Today we're gonna digest since Donald Trump want to speak at the NRL convention in Houston. We're gonna talk about how he's gonna impact the market and what did he say and so on and so forth. Let's digest into it.
We ask God to ease their suffering and to heal their pain, and together we grieve side by side as one great American family. Now is the time to find common ground. Sadly, before the sun had even set on the horrible day of tragedy, we witnessed a now
I totally agree there because it was a terrible day and it was the lack of security and the lack of gun control and the lack of a lot of things that a police officer was going on that make it the exaggerate the situation. And I sympathize with the family for the loss and everything.
familiar parade of cynical politicians seeking to exploit the tears of sobbing families to increase their own power and take away our constitutional rights. Every time a disturbed or demented person commits such a hideous crime, there's always a grotesque effort.
Yeah, it was a hideous crime because that person was ready to kill somebody that day. He buy a lot of gun and he was to shoot somebody, but the way the lack of the cops in interfere on time make it even worse to kill the innocent child. It was defenseless, very godless, but it was bad.
By some in our society to use the suffering of others to advance their own extreme political agenda. Even more repulsive is their rush to shift blame away from the villains who commit acts of mass violence and to place that blame onto the shoulders of millions of peaceful, law-abiding citizens who belong to organizations such as our wonderful NRA.
So that's true. That's a good impact because what happened is now the government are gonna issue. They have to come with a law and military with regulation and to prevent that from happening. But the question is how they gonna tackle that.
When Joe Biden blamed the gun lobby, he was talking about Americans like you.
True, I have a problem with that because how can you control the gun? Everyone is entitled to buy a gun and to keep a gun at home for their own security. If you feel they're not safe, they're supposed to buy a gun. That's our second right amendment. But the thing is, we're trying to tackle that. You put like a lot of people unable to protect themselves, whether justly or unjustly. So basically, you're entitled. That's what the amendment is for: your freedom to buy a gun.
And along with countless other Democrats this week, he was shamefully suggesting that Republicans are somehow okay with letting school shootings happen. They're not okay with it. This rhetoric is
But yeah, Biden has to stop blaming the strategic tactics. This doesn't work anymore because we can see from black and white, we can see that there wasn't a Republican or Democrat. It was a part that's the interference between the cops and the individual that's making the situation worse. It wasn't political. Why they turn it political? They're supposed to sit down and come for common law, common ground to fight it.
highly divisive and dangerous, and most importantly, it's wrong. Has no place in our politics. As always, in the wake of these tragedies, the various gun control policies being pushed by the left would have done nothing to prevent the horror that took place. Absolutely nothing.
I totally agree.
Unfortunately, ever since Columbine, we've been afflicted by a contagion of school shootings carried out by deeply evil, violent, and mentally disturbed young men.
Yeah, the reason why because of the lockdown. Because remember, for the lockdown, the person spent 2 years with no social skill, no interaction with no friends, especially men. Men they don't have a group for themselves to receive them for them there for them to speak their mind, to be friendly, and to be acceptable in society. Those make people on a crucial point where people can snap and make horrible things. And when they make horrible things, this is when everyone pay attention to.
Well, we don't yet know enough about this week's killing. We know there are many things we must do. We need to drastically change our approach to mental health. There
totally agree with that because the way the society work, they have is a lot of system for the woman, but not much um set up for the man, especially when those crises occur.
Always so many warning signs. Almost all of these disfigured minds share the same profile. When people see something, whether on social media or in school, they need to say something. Teachers, parents, school officials, and community members need to be recognizing and addressing these alarm bells promptly and very, very aggressively. And our school discipline systems, instead of making excuses and continually turning a blind eye, need to confront bad behavior head on and quickly.
I totally agree with what he said because we turn a blind eye, especially with the student, for the bad behavior in school. Whether they skip school or they cursing or they become violent, we let them be. So that another way they need to interfere with that. I don't know what kind of rule or mandate or regulation they can try to do, but we're gonna say they tackle it. But they need to fix that. At least start the process because for the future for preventing it from
And
happening.
clearly, we need to make it far easier to confine the violent and mentally deranged into mental institutions. We have also, very importantly, got to deal with the problem of broken families because no law can cure the effects of a broken home.
Totally
There
agree.
is no substitute for a strong mom and a great dad.
I'm glad he mentioned mom and dad because that's very important. Most of the cases, as you can see, the single member is only mother, single
But
mom in the
while we
family.
work to address these deep, complicated issues and deal with this scourge, all of us must unite, Republican and Democrat, in every state and at every level of government, to finally harden our schools and protect our children.
Yep, we need to protect because of the future of the country.
What we need now is a top to bottom security overhaul at schools all across our country.
Nice, totally agree.
Every building should have a single point of entry.
It has to be
There
two
should be
at least
strong
just a
exterior
fire.
fencing, metal detectors, and the use of new technology to make sure that no unauthorized individual can ever enter the school with a weapon. No one should ever be able to get anywhere near a classroom until they have been checked, scanned, screened, and fully approved.
Totally agree with that because
So important.
they need cops to
In
do that.
addition, classroom doors should be hardened to make them lockable from the inside and closed to intruders from the outside. And above all, from this day forward, every school in America should have a police officer or an armed resource officer on duty at all times.
Some schools have it, yes, they do have it, but not close, not inside the location. They have it close by. But I know some schools are different. I know from Washington D.C. they have some school. They have three bases: one for military, one for for the security. And if you're on the military base, you're gonna end up having trouble. If you're on the security base, you're still gonna get caught. But in different states, different procedure. I know New York City is different, Washington D.C. is different, and Texas is different. That's why is this situation happen.
Moreover, at every police department in America, we need a rigorous training on active shooter protocols to immediately locate and eliminate the target.
True, they
Too
should.
long.
True.
And we need to expand funding, recruiting, and training for police departments nationwide.
Totally
This
agree.
is not a matter of money. This is a matter of will. If the United States has $40 billion to send to Ukraine, we should be able to do whatever it takes to keep our children safe
Yeah.
at home.
Totally agree. Totally agree. At least they should have a bill or an amendment to protect your citizen, your school, not even your school, your market, every place that's public, like library and stuff like that. Not only send money for overseas, but invest on our land as well. True.
That's true. We spent trillions in Iraq, trillions in Afghanistan. We got nothing. Before we nation build the rest of the world, we should be building safe schools for our own children in our own nation, right?
Totally agree. Totally agree. That's facts.
Last year alone, Biden and congressional Democrats sent $122 billion in so-called COVID relief funds to K through 12 schools, even while they were keeping many of our schools totally shut down, no doubt severely
No
worsening the mental health challenge of many youth. I mean, many of these young people really suffered very greatly. They became very ill. They may have been ill to start, but they became very, very ill.
Yes. So that's my video for today, guys. Please smash the like button, subscribe and share. And guys, get your kids activity. For example, learn how to trade, how to read a book, be involved in a child life, especially single mom. I don't know how they're gonna tackle that, but if there was a father in the house, they're probably more stable in life and more stable, and those things won't be able to happen in us often as it is. And smash the like button, subscribe and share to something new. This was much the 101. I'll see you next one.